Pulling into the clutch, the rider hits the kill switch and cuts the engine, coasting about 200 yards before braking. He kicks down the side stand and climbs off the bike. A specific truck parked just down the street tells him he has arrived in time to do what he had to do. He looks around. Only a couple of businesses are still showing lights, otherwise the industrial strip is dark. He slips through the gate and walks toward the construction office. He does not approach the front door. Instead, he walks down the side and picks up the piece of rebar he knows to be there and settles down to wait in the shadows. My name is Garrett Pierce. I'm 58 years old, and what I just described happened 14 months ago. Let me tell you how I got there. I'd been driving back from a job site inspection in Findlay, about 50 miles north of Toledo. 28 years I'd been running Pierce Construction, built it up from nothing after I got out of the Army. Started with just me and a pickup truck doing small residential jobs. By the time this story happened, we had 15 employees and were pulling down contracts worth $2 million a year. Commercial renovations, municipal work, the kind of steady business that took decades to build. The Army taught me everything I needed to know about leadership and planning. 20 years of service, including 2 tours in Iraq between 2003 and 2007. I wasn't some desk jockey either. Combat engineer, clearing roads, building forward operating bases, dealing with problems that required both brain and muscle. When I got out in 2004 at 38, I knew I wanted to build something permanent, something that would last. Nicole, my wife of 25 years, handled the books. Smart woman, always was good with numbers. We met when I was stationed at Fort Knox in 1999, right before my final deployment. She was working at a bank in Louisville, had her associate's degree in accounting. When I got out and started the business, she managed the office, dealt with clients, handled payroll. We were a team. Or so I thought. Those early years were tough. I'd wake up at 5 a.m., load tools into the pickup, drive to whatever job I'd scrape together. Bathroom renovations, deck installations, small commercial repairs. Nicole would handle the paperwork at our kitchen table, chasing down payments, managing supplies. We lived on ramen noodles and determination. By 2010, I'd hired my first employee, Brady Sullivan, another veteran who'd gotten out the same year I did. We'd served together in Iraq, knew how to work as a team. Brady became my foreman, and slowly we started taking bigger jobs. A restaurant renovation here, a small office building there. The breakthrough came in 2012 when we landed the contract to renovate the old Riverside Elementary School into senior housing. $800,000 job, our biggest to date. Nicole had spent weeks preparing that bid, researching every detail, calculating costs down to the penny. We came in $50,000 under the competition and delivered 2 weeks early. That job put us on the map. After that, the work started flowing. Municipal contracts, commercial renovations, new construction. By 2015, we had our own office building on Industrial Drive, a warehouse full of equipment, and a reputation for quality work delivered on time. Nicole moved from our kitchen table to a real office, hired an assistant, started wearing business suits instead of jeans. I was proud of what we'd built together. Proud of the business, proud of the marriage, proud of the life we'd created from nothing. Veterans don't get many chances to prove themselves in the civilian world. Most of us end up working for someone else, following orders, making other people rich. But I'd built something that was mine. That evening, I was supposed to be back by 6, but the inspection ran late. Some issues with the electrical work that needed documenting for the city inspector. I called Nicole around 5:30 to let her know I'd be another hour. She said she'd lock up the office and head home. Normal stuff. We'd had that conversation 1,000 times over the years. But as I turned onto Industrial Drive where our office sat, I saw Adrian Foster's silver F-150 parked outside. Adrian ran Foster Construction, our main competitor in the commercial sector. Younger guy, maybe 42, with a business degree from Ohio State and fancy equipment he'd financed to the hilt. Always undercutting our bids, trying to steal contracts with promises he couldn't keep. See, here's what bothered me about guys like Adrian. They thought a college degree made them smarter than someone who'd learned the trade through blood and sweat. They'd show up at bid meetings with PowerPoint presentations and cost projections, talking about efficiency and optimization. But they'd never spent a winter morning breaking ice off concrete forms, or figured out how to run electrical through a building that wasn't built to code. The office lights were still on. I parked across the street and sat there for a minute, trying to think of a legitimate reason Adrian would be meeting with my wife after hours. Couldn't come up with one. In 28 years of business, I'd never had an after-hours meeting with a competitor's wife. That's not how honest business gets done. I walked to the back door, the one we used for deliveries. Had my keys, of course. The sound of voices came from Nicole's office. Her voice, and his. I moved closer, staying quiet like they taught us in basic training back in 1984. Movement discipline, they called it. Sometimes the skills you learn in the service come in handy in ways you never expected. The Riverside Mall renovation project, Nicole was saying. Garrett's planning to bid $850,000. If you come in at $820, you'll get it. What about the materials sourcing? Adrian's voice. Here's his supplier list with the wholesale pricing. You can undercut him on every aspect. Johnson Lumber gives us a 15% contractor discount, but they'll match it for anyone who mentions our account number. I stood there listening to my wife of 25 years sell out everything I'd worked for. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was when I heard the chair creak and then silence, followed by sounds that made it clear this wasn't just about business. I backed out slowly, got in my truck, and drove home. Needed time to think, needed time to plan. See, here's what you need to understand about military training. It doesn't just teach you how to fight. It teaches you how to plan, how to think strategically, how to gather intelligence before you act. 20 years in the Army, including 2 combat tours, gives you a certain perspective on problem solving. I didn't confront them that night. Instead, I sat in my kitchen drinking coffee and thinking through the implications. This wasn't just infidelity. This was corporate espionage. Nicole had access to everything. Our bid calculations, client lists, financial statements, supplier agreements, employee records. She could destroy my business from the inside while I slept next to her every night. The next morning, I called my old Army buddy Brady Sullivan. Brady had gotten into private investigation after he retired, mostly insurance fraud cases and workers' compensation claims. He'd kept his investigative skills sharp and still had contacts in law enforcement. I need a favor, I told him, and it stays between us. What kind of favor? The kind that requires discretion and your particular skill set. We met at a diner outside Toledo, the kind of place where truckers and construction workers grab coffee at 5 a.m. I laid out what I'd discovered without going into specifics about my emotional state. Brady listened without interrupting, taking notes on a paper napkin. You want me to investigate your wife and this Adrian character? I want to know the scope of the damage, how long it's been going on, what information has been compromised, whether other competitors are involved. I need intelligence before I can plan a response. Brady nodded. Military guys understand the value of good intelligence. Give me 2 weeks. What Brady found over the next 2 weeks was worse than I'd imagined. Adrian's business was leveraged beyond belief. He owed $300,000 to equipment suppliers, was 6 months behind on his truck payments, and had defaulted on 2 previous business loans. His strategy was simple. Steal enough contracts from established companies like mine to stay afloat, then declare bankruptcy if things went south, leaving his creditors holding worthless paper. Nicole had been feeding him information for at least 4 months. Every bid we prepared, every client we courted, every strategic decision we made, Brady showed me photocopied invoices that proved Adrian had been contacting our suppliers, using information only Nicole could have provided. He'd been undercutting our bids by amounts that suggested he knew our exact pricing. The financial damage was already substantial. 3 major contracts we'd lost in the past 4 months, totaling nearly $1.5 million in revenue. The Patterson office building, the Maumee Recreation Center expansion, and the downtown library renovation. All jobs we should have won, all awarded to Foster Construction at prices that barely covered costs. And yes, they were sleeping together. Brady got photos of them at a motel on Reynolds Road, receipts from restaurants where they'd charged business dinners to accounts Nicole managed. The affair had started around the same time as the information sharing. Adrian was smart enough to combine business seduction with personal seduction. But here's what really got to me. Nicole wasn't just cheating on our marriage. She was cheating on our partnership, our shared dream, everything we'd built together over 28 years. She was stealing from her own future, destroying the retirement security we'd worked decades to create. Brady also discovered something else. Adrian had been bragging to other contractors about his inside source at Pierce Construction. Word was getting around the industry that Foster Construction had an unfair advantage. Our reputation for fair bidding was being questioned. Clients were starting to wonder if we'd been overcharging them for years. The thing about being 58 years old is that you don't have time for second chances. This wasn't some midlife crisis where I could start over. This was my retirement security, my legacy, everything I'd built to leave behind. Adrian wasn't just threatening my marriage, he was threatening to destroy 28 years of work and leave me broke in my golden years. I spent 3 days reviewing Brady's intelligence report. Financial records, surveillance photos, recorded phone conversations where Adrian discussed stealing more contracts. The evidence was overwhelming. This was a coordinated attack on my business, using my own wife as the weapon. That's when I started planning. Military planning. Objective, strategy, tactics, execution, contingencies. This wasn't about anger anymore. This was about neutralizing a threat to everything I'd worked to protect. The objective was simple: eliminate Adrian Foster as a threat to my business and send a message to anyone else who might consider similar tactics. The strategy required removing Adrian from the competition permanently while maintaining plausible deniability about my involvement. I studied Adrian's schedule for a week. He was predictable, like most civilians. Same coffee shop every morning, same route to job sites, same Thursday night meetings with Nicole at the office. Brady still had his motorcycle from his younger days, a Kawasaki Ninja, fast and quiet. The plan was simple. On the next Thursday night, when Nicole said she was staying late to reconcile the monthly accounts, Brady and I would switch vehicles. I'd take the bike, handle what needed to be done, then meet him at a predetermined spot to switch back. I'd be home by the time Nicole got there, with perfect alibi coverage. I spent the weekend doing reconnaissance. Drove past the office at different times, noting which businesses stayed open late, where security cameras were positioned, what kind of foot traffic the area had after dark. Industrial Drive was perfect for this kind of operation. Most businesses closed by 6 p.m., limited street lighting, and the kind of neighborhood where people minded their own business. The weapon selection required careful consideration. It had to be something that wouldn't be traced back to me, something that would cause maximum damage without being lethal, and something I could handle effectively despite being 58 years old. That piece of rebar I mentioned earlier, it was from our current job site at the Maumee Recreation Center. I'd placed it behind the office building during my reconnaissance, hidden behind the dumpster where the cleaning crew emptied trash. Rebar isn't just steel rod. It's engineered for construction, designed to handle tremendous stress. A 2-foot section of number 5 grade rebar weighs about 3 pounds and can deliver devastating impact when properly applied. In construction, you learn which tools work best for specific jobs. This job required precision, not brute force. I tested my physical readiness that weekend. 20 years of construction work had kept me strong, but I wasn't 25 anymore. I needed to know my limitations. Swinging a sledgehammer all day builds specific muscle groups. Your core strength, shoulder stability, grip endurance. The kind of strength that translates well to other applications. Military combat training stays with you. Even after 14 years out of the service, I still remembered the basics. Pressure points, joint vulnerabilities, how to disable an opponent efficiently. The Army taught us that violence isn't about anger. It's about achieving tactical objectives with minimum risk to yourself. Thursday arrived. I went through my normal routine. Morning coffee, job site visits, afternoon paperwork. Nicole mentioned she'd be staying late to work on the monthly reconciliation, said she'd probably be there until 9 or 10 p.m. I kissed her goodbye, told her I'd grab dinner with Brady, and probably be home around the same time. The execution phase began at 7 p.m. I met Brady at the VA Hall on Secor Road, where the weekly veteran support group was meeting. 30 guys saw me walk in, heard me complain about contract disputes and marriage stress. Perfect cover story, and the kind of problems every guy in that room could relate to. At 8:30, I slipped out the back door where Brady was waiting with the motorcycle. He'd removed the license plate and disabled the running lights. In the Army, we called this going dark, moving without being observed or identified. The ride to Industrial Drive took 15 minutes. The Kawasaki handled differently than I expected, more responsive than the trucks and construction equipment I was used to, but the basic principles were the same. Throttle control, situational awareness, maintaining your intended course despite obstacles. I parked 3 blocks away and approached the office on foot. The building was lit up, Nicole's car in the front parking lot, Adrian's truck beside it. No other vehicles in sight. The industrial district was dead after 8 p.m., exactly as my reconnaissance had indicated. That piece of rebar was exactly where I'd left it. 3 days in the weather hadn't affected it. Rebar doesn't rust quickly, and the weight felt right in my hands. Balanced, substantial, purpose-built for the job ahead. I positioned myself in the shadows beside the loading dock, with clear sight lines to the front entrance and parking area. Military tactics emphasize patience. Wait for the optimal moment, then execute with decisive action. No hesitation, no second guessing. I didn't have to wait long. Less than 10 minutes before I heard the office door opening. Adrian came out first, turning to say something back to Nicole. Probably making plans for their next meeting, their next betrayal. He was wearing khakis and a polo shirt, looking like the college boy he'd always been. As he walked toward his truck, I moved from the shadows. The first strike caught him behind the left knee. In the Army, they teach you about pressure points, about joints that fail under specific stress. The human knee is a complex mechanism held together by ligaments and cartilage. Apply force at the right angle and the whole structure collapses. He went down hard but didn't scream. Shock, probably. That gave me time for the methodical work. Left elbow striking the joint where the radius meets the humerus. Right ankle targeting the complex of small bones that provide lateral stability. Both hands focusing on the metacarpals that enable grip strength. I was careful to avoid the head, the ribs, anything that might kill him. This wasn't about murder, this was about sending a message. About ensuring that Adrian Foster would never again have the physical capability to operate construction equipment, review blueprints, or shake hands on contracts that didn't belong to him. The whole thing took maybe 90 seconds. Efficient, systematic, professional. By the time Nicole came out looking for him, I was already back on the bike, heading to the rendezvous point with Brady. The operation had proceeded exactly according to plan. An ambulance siren pulled me from my thoughts as I rode. It overtook me and seemed to be going in the same direction I was. In fact, I followed it all the way back to Industrial Drive. The office was lit up with police cars and flashing lights. Perfect timing, just as we'd planned. I met Brady at the truck stop on Route 23, switched vehicles, and drove home. The transition took less than 2 minutes. Brady would return the motorcycle to his garage and I'd be in my truck, driving home from a veteran support meeting that had run late. Simple, clean, untraceable. Nicole's car was in the driveway when I got there. She was in the kitchen, pacing, talking on her cell phone. Her voice was shaky, stressed. Good. "What's wrong?" I asked, playing the concerned husband. "Something terrible happened at the office. Adrian was attacked in the parking lot. They think someone tried to rob him." "Adrian? What was he doing at our office?" I put just enough surprise in my voice, just enough confusion. The look on her face told me everything. Guilt, fear, calculation. She was trying to decide how much to tell me, how much I might already know. He came by to discuss a potential partnership, some supply chain collaboration. "After hours? That's unusual, Nicole. We typically handle business during normal operating hours." It was just convenient. He was in the area. I nodded like I believed her. "Is he going to be okay?" "They don't know yet. Multiple fractures. The police want to talk to anyone who might have seen something." 2 hours later, Detective Landon Hayes showed up at our door. Younger guy, maybe 48, with the kind of arrogance that comes from watching too many cop shows. He had a notebook and the attitude of someone who thought he was smarter than everyone in the room. "Mr. Pierce, I need to ask you a few questions about your whereabouts tonight." "Sure." "I was at the VA meeting until about 9:30, then came straight home." "Why?" "We're investigating an assault that occurred at your business location. The victim is Adrian Foster." I made sure to look surprised. "Adrian? What was he doing there?" Detective Hayes glanced at Nicole. "Your wife says he came by to discuss business." "After hours?" I frowned. "That's unusual. We typically handle business during normal operating hours." I repeated the same line I'd used with Nicole, establishing consistency. The detective asked for details about the VA meeting. I gave him names, times, specifics, everything he could verify. Tom Morrison, the group leader. Steve Patterson, who'd talked about his PTSD struggles. Danny Walsh, who'd mentioned job hunting difficulties. 30 guys who'd seen me complain about business stress and marriage problems. "Mr. Pierce, did you have any personal issues with Mr. Foster?" "He's competition, sure. But this is a big enough market for multiple contractors. I never had any personal problems with the man. That was technically true. My problems weren't personal, they were professional and strategic. Detective Hayes left after getting my statement. Nicole was quiet the rest of the evening. I went to bed early, claiming fatigue from a long day and the stress of hearing about the attack. The next morning brought more visits from Detective Hayes. This time he was less friendly, more focused. He'd obviously spent the night thinking about the case. "Mr. Pierce, we'd like you to come to the station for additional questioning." "Am I under arrest?" "Not at this time. We're just trying to piece together what happened." I drove myself to the station. No lawyer, no panic. When you've planned properly, interrogation becomes just another briefing. I'd been through hostile questioning before, in situations where lives depended on my answers. Detective Hayes sat across from me in a small room with recording equipment and mirrored glass. Standard police interview setup designed to make suspects feel isolated and pressured. "Mr. Pierce, we've learned some additional information about the relationship between your wife and Mr. Foster." "What kind of relationship? How long have you known about the affair?" I let my face show shock, the kind of genuine surprise that comes from having your worst fears confirmed. "Affair? What are you talking about?" "Your wife has been having a sexual relationship with Adrian Foster for approximately 4 months. I sat back in my chair, playing the devastated husband, let my shoulders slump, rubbed my face with my hands. That's impossible. Nicole wouldn't. She's also been providing him with confidential business information, bid details, client lists, financial data. Now I let anger show. Real anger, the kind that builds over 25 years of marriage and 28 years of business building. "You're telling me my wife has been cheating on me and sabotaging my business?" "That's correct. And we think you found out about it." I looked him straight in the eye. "If I had known about this, Adrian Foster would be missing more than a few broken bones." Detective Hayes leaned forward. "Is that a confession?" "It's a statement of fact. If I had known my wife was destroying everything I'd worked 28 years to build, I would have handled it directly. But I didn't know. I was at a veterans meeting with 30 witnesses." The questioning continued for 3 hours. Every angle Hayes tried, I had an answer for. Every timeline he proposed, I had an alibi for. Every motive he suggested, I had a reasonable explanation for. Finally, he let me go. "Don't leave town, Mr. Pierce. We may have more questions." "I'll be at work. Same place I've been for 28 years. I drove home to find Nicole packing suitcases. Her hands were shaking as she folded clothes, tears streaming down her face. The perfect picture of a woman whose world was falling apart. "Going somewhere?" I asked. "Garrett, we need to talk." "I think we're past talking, so." "The detective filled me in on your side business." She started crying harder. "I never meant for it to happen. It started as business discussions and then you decided to destroy my life's work for some young guy with a fancy degree?" "It wasn't like that." "What was it like, Nicole? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you sold out 28 years of marriage and business for a man who was using you to bankrupt us." She couldn't answer that. Because there was no good answer. She'd betrayed everything we'd built together for the thrill of being wanted by a younger man, for the excitement of corporate espionage, for reasons that made sense only to someone willing to destroy their own future. "I want you out," I told her. "Tonight. Take whatever you can carry. I'll have the rest shipped to wherever you're going. Garrett, please, we can work through this." "No, we can't. You made your choice when you started feeding our competitors inside information. You made your choice when you started sleeping with him. Now live with it." She left that night, went to stay with her sister in Columbus. I helped her load the car, maintained basic civility, but made it clear she was no longer welcome in the house we'd shared for 25 years. The business recovered faster than I'd expected. Within 6 weeks, word had gotten around the construction community about what Nicole and Adrian had been doing. Instead of damaging our reputation, the revelation enhanced it. Other contractors respected that I'd handled the situation professionally, that I'd maintained my integrity while my marriage fell apart. Adrian Foster spent 6 weeks in the hospital and 4 months in rehabilitation, multiple surgeries on his hands and joints. The doctor said he'd never have full mobility again. His business folded within 2 months. Turns out when you can't physically oversee construction sites and you're facing bankruptcy, clients tend to find other contractors. Detective Hayes pulled me in twice more over the following months, but he never found anything. Hard to solve a crime when the perpetrator planned it properly and had military training. The case eventually went cold, filed away with hundreds of other unsolved assaults. I visited Adrian once, about 6 months after the attack. He was in a rehabilitation facility, learning to use his hands again. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, the kind of long-term recovery that insurance companies hate to pay for. "Garrett," he said when I walked into his room. "I wondered when you'd show up. How are you feeling, Adrian?" "Like someone took a piece of rebar to my joints." He looked at me carefully. "Funny thing about that weapon. Police said it was construction-grade steel, the kind used in commercial projects." "That's interesting. Probably stolen from some job site." "Probably." He tried to flex his left hand. It moved maybe 30 degrees. "You know what the doctors told me? Whoever did this knew exactly which bones to break to cause maximum long-term damage without killing me. Almost like they had medical training, or maybe military experience. Sounds like you were lucky it wasn't worse." "Lucky." Adrian laughed bitterly. "You know what I can't figure out? How someone knew exactly when I'd be leaving your office that night. Almost like they'd been watching, planning. Maybe you should be more careful about your business meetings. Some neighborhoods aren't safe after dark." I left him there, struggling to pick up a plastic cup with hands that would never work properly again. The divorce was finalized 8 months later. Nicole got nothing from the business. Adultery and corporate sabotage voided her partnership claims. She kept her car and personal belongings. I kept everything else. Brady and I never talked about that Thursday night. But every year on Veterans Day, we have a beer together and toast fallen comrades. We understand each other. Some battles aren't fought on foreign soil. Today, Pierce Construction is stronger than ever. Without Nicole feeding information to competitors, we've picked up 4 major contracts this year. Revenue is up 45%. My retirement account is healthy, my reputation intact, my business secure. I'm 58 years old. I built something worth protecting, and when someone tried to destroy it, I protected it. That's what men of my generation do. We don't complain, we don't ask for help, we handle our business. Some people might say I went too far, but those people never built a company from nothing, never had their life's work stolen by someone they trusted. They never faced financial ruin at an age when starting over isn't an option. Adrian Foster learned that there are consequences for trying to destroy another man's legacy. Nicole learned that betrayal comes with a price. And I learned that sometimes the only justice you get is the justice you make yourself. The real lesson here isn't about revenge. It's about the difference between consequences and punishment. The system failed to protect what I'd built, so I protected it myself. When institutions fail you, when the law can't touch your enemies, when betrayal comes from inside your own house, a man has to decide what his life's work is actually worth. I decided mine was worth everything.